Welcome to Coffee Confessions Season 2. Today's topic is self-love.
How we're bringing our men up, how we're bringing our women up. And I think that it has to change.
Who actually sit alone by themselves and they just continue taking photographs.
There are a lot of
It's like, okay.
What is your definition of self-love?
Well, I feel self-love should project your confidence, of course. Mm-hmm. And self-love is one where you actually come and instill the love for yourself so that you can also give out love to others. You know, you become a more giving, happier person when you love yourself, take care of yourself, which is very difficult at some times, but not absolutely impossible.
What do you think? Do you have something to add on to that? Self-love, what is the definition according to you?
Self-love is loving yourself for what you are. In a way, you're accepting yourself for what you are.
Being more forgiving of
Yes,
yourself.
and not trying to be somebody else.
Do you think media and our culture plays a huge role in why women always come last in their own list to do?
Absolutely. A lot. If you keep seeing that, whether our movies, where they glorify mother when she's suffering, they never glorify the mother who is really enjoying her life and bringing up her children and all that. Like Mother India. Take from Mother India time where she suffers a lot. Only when she suffers, she's the glorified mother. You had Nirupa Roy, whoever, you know, she's the embodiment of, and then later even you had that Tulsi and Parvati. Then forever they were suffering, but they're glorified. So that glorification, you know, subconsciously it puts into the mind of the women, no, we have to be like that. Nobody tells you, these all are subconscious, you know. It's not that, even though we may tell, but what you see around yourself and what the media is projecting. Of course, now I think it's changing a bit. It's changed a lot, but still, you know.
Do you think there's a stigma of being called selfish when one does take care of themselves?
Yes, they do think, oh, she doesn't take care of the kid. They forget that she has to take care of herself. Only then she can take care of the family too. And many a times I've seen that, people saying that, you know, they're easily judgmental.
Exactly.
They try to say that, no, she doesn't bother about the children. We don't know. Even you see in the social media, somebody puts up something and everyone start commenting on that. How do you know what's happening there? Recently I've seen one where the mother put the baby down in the airport or something. And everybody started saying, oh, what a horrible mother she is. So we are really judgmental. And for us, mother should be somebody who's completely, not only a mother, a wife or a sister, self-sacrificing and always bending to our, you know, bending to others and doing their things and trying to please them.
Yeah. Do you have something to add on to that?
Yeah, I have lots to add on to it because I work in the social media field, so I will like to disagree in the sense, even the movies today, the way they are being made, they actually project a very empowered women. I really feel that way.
Not in the Hindi cinema. We're talking about, she was talking about culturally the Indian cinema.
Yeah.
Do we have examples of Indian cinema?
Yes, look at Mary Kom, for example. She's a real life example. It's not just a movie. And she comes from a very small village. So there are many, even the movie as in Dangal, for example. So these are also real life incidences which are brought into a big screen, right? Apart from that, even in my field, I feel every other woman is their own fan first. Because in the social media field, you have to love yourself really well, and because that's what you project.
Correct.
So things are changing, yes. At home, yeah, it's a difficult task because but you have to be very strong in that sense. You have to resist that kind of guilt feeling basically women have when they are actually loving themselves more or probably taking care. For example, if I'm putting on makeup and I take more than 20 minutes, it's like, oh my God, my kid is crying, so I should have taken care of that. So I feel you should stop feeling guilty. And yes, you should know when to prioritize what. That's most important.
Okay, self-love is, I think, extremely important, especially to every individual to start with. And self-love for me actually means self-respect. It means loving yourself. It means honoring yourself. So that for me is self-love.
Yeah. And do you think sometimes women are criticized for taking care of themselves and labeled as selfish?
I think there are various negative perceptions around women. It could be about their appearance, about how they speak, how they behave, etc. And when you look at appearance, for example, if a woman takes care of herself and she's particular about the way she dresses, the way she looks in terms of her makeup, her clothes, etc., then people tend to think she's being vain. That's one. Secondly, if she is a little more interested in the way she looks, that means she's very particular about the way she looks, then they start giving her another label, which is she's obsessed.
Self-obsessed.
Yes. And then the third part, which I tend to agree with, is when there is an I would say, attention to the way she looks, over attention to the way how people are perceiving her, and then going into another kind of culture which is now quite popular called the selfie culture, then it becomes an obsession. So there's different stages of how a woman is perceived depending on her activity which is focused on herself.
Why do you think it's so hard for women to put themselves first on their own list?
So it actually boils down to social and cultural conditioning. And this happens at the age of about 6, birth to 6, because that is the time when any child, no matter where they're growing up, absorbs a lot of what they see and hear, observe around them. Now when they're absorbing this, there's no judgment on their part, they just absorb. And this sits in the subconscious, and we all know the subconscious actually controls 90% of our behavior.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think media has a role to play in this kind of thinking?
I think the media has a major role to perpetuate this thing about how women are treated and how they should be treated. And I think if you look at television as an example, even ads for that matter, there are certain stereotypes. And because you're fed that constantly, you then start thinking that that's the way it should be. Now, if you look at the soap operas, especially, I'm talking about Indian, because I can talk, about that forever. That is something which I find so regressive. It's like, in which century are you living? Are you trying to portray a woman from a mythological and historical drama? That's a different thing. But when you bring that into the present day scenario, it's ludicrous. And I do write very vociferously about all this, but obviously nobody listens to me. But when you look at the Bahu, who is constantly victimized, and the Saas that has to play the role of this harridan who just destroys the peace of mind and love and relationship of the family. Does that really happen? But a lot of people then get influenced by that, and they say, you know what, this is what's happening, so if I'm doing it, it's okay. And on the other hand, if you have the young woman who is being ill-treated or disrespected because perhaps she didn't have a baby boy, or she's not fair enough, or she didn't bring enough dowry, then they are justifying that kind of behavior in real life. So I think the media is playing a very negative role in this, and I don't mind saying that. It is counterproductive to women today.
And Sandi, lastly, what does your inner voice tell you? How do you keep so positive?
Okay, first of all, I love myself, big time, right? And I also, I read a book by this gentleman called Bruce Lipton. It's called The Biology of Belief. And when I started reading it, it started resonating so much with what I feel about myself. And one of the things that he says in that each cell in your body has a memory. Okay? And if you can keep those memories happy, and if you can energize those happy moments, you are totally energized inside out. And when you're energized inside out, you automatically radiate positiveness around you. That's one. The second thing is, when I say I love myself, I'm talking about love as an emotion. And when we talk about love as an emotion, it is the most expanded emotion of all. Right? So when you're in an expanded state of being, you're not only radiating a lot of stuff outside, but you're actually putting in a lot of positive energies inside you. So when the flow is there, you're automatically in the flow of being positive. And when you are positive, you're always in good health. But I think one of the important things I'd like to bring to your attention is health. Because for me, health is paramount. And it is for everyone. Okay, because you have one body. And if you truly respect yourself, you will respect your health.
देखें, आप बस ऑनलाइन जाएं, वेबसाइट का नाम लिखें, ब्रांड के सारे प्रोडक्ट्स आ जाएंगे, एंड देन आप अपना फेवरेट प्रोडक्ट क्लिक करें, ऐड टू कार्ट, प्रोसीड टू चेकआउट, अपनी सारी डिटेल्स फिल करें, एंड डन।
सीखने की कोई उम्र नहीं होती। महमूद 500 Rise, bringing families together since 1979.
In your definition, what is self-love?
Yeah, I think self-love is definitely being aware of your strengths, about who you are as a human being, and that just doesn't include all the good stuff that we're aware of, but also the stuff that's in our shadow, the stuff that we want to hide and not show the world. So I think self-love actually encompasses having compassion for that side of ourselves. So whether I know that I'm actually, when there's a deadline, I get a little tizzy and I get a little nervous or anxious, to know that about myself and to have compassion for that part of me. And I think that for a lot of people, self-love becomes this really exaggerated, I'm great. It's not really about that. It's about really getting to know who you are, all aspects of yourself. So Hume talks of the shadow. So getting to know the shadow of yourself along with the light, and kind of holding that with love and compassion for yourself.
Do you think sometimes the genders also play a role? Do you think women have a harder time giving themselves some love? Or is it just a perception that we have?
I think that I think men and women are able to give themselves, or present parts of themselves that are different. So for women it might be, how do I look? Maybe how many girls I'm with, how often I go out. For men, I think it is the power that I hold, the money that I make, the car that I drive. So I think there's, again, incomplete parts of ourselves that are brought to the forefront, and I think it's skewed for both.
For someone who is struggling, what would your advice be about self-awareness and self-love?
I think it ties in with the same thing. Begin with yourself. Focus on yourself. Saying, maybe keep a little diary. Saying, anytime that you feel down, that's a sign for you to say, hey, something's going on within me. Let me hear what I'm saying. Start writing stuff down. As you start writing that, there's actually a concept called the saboteur. It's this voice we carry in ourselves that we've picked up maybe from our childhood. Maybe it was a parent that was teaching us a subject or something really important, but maybe it was slightly just bordering on critical, or bordering on, or maybe we perceive that as, oh, we're not good enough. So we pick up these voices as we go along, and they become these negative voices within us. So to become aware of these saboteurs that we carry. And then I think that when you get pressures from outside to say, carry this bag, drive this car, etc., so you'll belong, really say, who am I? And is that what I really want? Another thing we can definitely do is, when we post pictures of ourselves on social media, just say, why am I doing that? What is this for? Yes, it's for appreciation and adulation, absolutely. But what are my sources of adulation? What are my sources of I'm all right? You know, and if we notice that there are constantly external sources that are validating who we are, maybe we say, hey, that's interesting. How could I move to maybe one source of an internal validation for myself? You know, and something as simple as maybe every night, just pause for 5 minutes before you sleep and say, how was today? You know, how was I internally driven? How was I externally driven? You know, as you do that, you become more and more aware of your own drives, of your own desires, of what you're meant to do here. As we become older, I think in our mid-30s to early 40s to mid-40s, which is termed as the midlife crisis, it's actually a fantastic thing. Because that, you know, that's a moment when you pause kind of midway through adult life and say, is this the life that I want? You know, and what am I here to do? Am I on my purpose? Because I think the, you know, teenagers, of course, is a completely different time. 20s is about really, you know, being out in the world, just being out. There's very little time a 20-year-old will spend on self-reflection, mostly. 30s is when you actually gathered mastery almost over the outside world. And 30s is when you actually start to look within and say, okay, now that that's done, what do I want? What is my soul saying that I need to do whilst I'm here? Yeah, so I think all of this is such a great way to go towards self-love.
Let's take a break. Go love yourself.
I hope I wasn't a downer.
This better be deleted, all of it. Better not see it anywhere.
Neck कैसे जाएगा? Shoulders कैसे जाएंगे? What are you talking, yaar? I'm sorry, you are outnumbered.
Hi.